Steve Irwin often said that alligators were far more placid than people expected, their temperament gentler than their fearsome reputation. That belief wasn't something he learned from books or documentaries. It was shaped from the very beginning of his life, long before he could even speak. Steve's first experience with a crocodile happened when he was only 6 weeks old. His father, Bob Irwin, placed the tiny baby's hand on the tail of a crocodile during a hunt. For most parents, the idea would be unthinkable, but for the Irwins, this was simply how life worked. That moment was only the start of a childhood unlike any other, one that built the fearless conservationist the world would later adore. Steve Irwin was born on February 22, 1962, in Melbourne, a date that held special meaning because it was also his mother Lynn's birthday. She liked to joke that she had given birth to herself, and the bond between them was deep from the start. Lynn was a wildlife rehabilitator, while Bob was a plumber who spent every spare moment studying reptiles. When Steve was still an infant, the family moved to Queensland and built what would later become Australia's zoo. Animals weren't a hobby in the Irwin household, they were family. Snakes, lizards, and crocodiles were part of daily life, not something to fear. That world shattered when Steve was 9 years old, and his mother died in a car accident. The loss hit him with overwhelming force. Instead of pulling away, he threw himself deeper into the reptile park, arriving every afternoon after school to feed animals, clean cages, and work until dark. Caring for wildlife became the way he processed grief and stayed connected to the mother he loved. The pain never left him, but it shaped his purpose. From early childhood, Steve's experiences were extraordinary. He slept beside a baby saltwater crocodile named Susie, and would often arrive late to school because he stopped to rescue lizards crossing the road. For his 6th birthday, he was given a python, which he treated like other children treated toys. At school, he casually held venomous snakes in front of classmates, utterly unaware of how unusual this was. By the time he was 8, he had caught his first venomous brown snake using nothing but a pillowcase. At 9, he wrestled a crocodile nearly his own size, forcing his father to intervene. These moments piled up, shaping instincts and confidence that most people never develop in a lifetime. By his early teens, Steve had already relocated more than 100 crocodiles. The bush felt safer to him than classrooms ever did. When he turned 17, he left school entirely to work full-time at the reptile park. That same year, he was capturing and relocating over 100 dangerous reptiles annually. He volunteered for the Queensland government's crocodile relocation program, diving into murky rivers at night armed with nothing more than ropes, spotlights, and his own judgment. He understood the risks, but to him the work felt necessary. At 19, Steve faced a defining test when he attempted to capture a 9-foot saltwater crocodile in the Logan River. The animal dragged him underwater for nearly 30 seconds. Witnesses watched in terror, but Steve surfaced with the crocodile restrained. It was his first solo capture, and the next day he was promoted to senior trapper. His reputation grew quickly, and stories spread about the young man who could outswim crocodiles and walk away smiling. By 1982, Steve took over management of the reptile park. He dreamed of turning it into something larger, a place that could inspire people to protect wildlife. Lacking money, he convinced banks to fund his vision by showing raw footage of himself feeding crocodiles by hand. The fearlessness on display worked. With those loans, the park expanded and slowly transformed into Australia's zoo. Danger was constant. During one relocation, a 12-foot crocodile bit Steve's thigh, requiring 38 stitches. He returned to work the next day, joking that it felt like a love bite. To Steve, pain was part of the job. What mattered was the animal's safety. Everything shifted in 1991 when Steve met Terry Raines, a visitor from the United States. Their first real moment together happened inside a muddy alligator enclosure, wrestling a slippery reptile and laughing through the chaos. They married the following year at the zoo, with a crocodile delivering the rings. Their honeymoon wasn't a beach vacation but a crocodile rescue mission in North Queensland. During that trip, footage was filmed of Steve relocating a massive crocodile named Bubba. The raw intensity of the scenes became the first episode of the Crocodile Hunter and launched a global phenomenon. The show exploded when it aired in 1996. Viewers were captivated by Steve's energy, his respect for animals, and his willingness to stand inches away from danger while teaching. The series aired in over 130 countries and transformed wildlife television. Steve wasn't acting. He was being himself. His now famous cry of "Crikey" became a symbol of excitement and awe, echoing around the world. The fame didn't soften the risks. Steve was bitten, stung, slashed, and nearly killed countless times. He survived crocodile death rolls, bullet ant stings that caused temporary paralysis, venomous snake bites, cassowary attacks, and injuries from big cats. Each incident reinforced the same lesson he tried to teach others. Wild animals demand respect, not fear. Steve's work also had scientific impact. He helped identify a new species of turtle later named Irwin's turtle and funded massive expansions of Australia's zoo, including a wildlife hospital that treats tens of thousands of animals every year. He used his influence to fight against trophy hunting, successfully helping block legislation that would have allowed crocodile killings in the Northern Territory. As a father, Steve raised his children the only way he knew how, immersed in wildlife. His daughter Bindi and son Robert grew up handling reptiles and learning conservation firsthand. The world criticized him, especially after he appeared holding his infant son near a crocodile, but Steve believed deeply in teaching respect rather than fear. Even after close calls, including a python found in Bindi's crib, the family refined safety measures without abandoning their lifestyle. On September 4, 2006, while filming on the Great Barrier Reef, everything ended in seconds. A stingray struck Steve in the chest, its barb piercing his heart. Despite desperate efforts to save him, he died at the age of 44. The injury was extraordinarily rare, but it took the life of one of the world's most passionate conservationists. Steve Irwin's legacy didn't end with his death. Australia's zoo continued to grow, wildlife donations surged, and his family carried his mission forward. Through conservation work, television, and education, Steve's message lived on. Love wildlife, respect it, and protect it. His energy, his courage, and his unwavering belief that education could change the world ensured that his impact would never fade.